I'm Brother Richard Merling, the director for the Father Solanus Guild, and I'm here today to speak about the life of Father Solanus Casey, who was a Capuchin friar from the Detroit area. He had lived there for some 23 years and was very well known as a Capuchin there. His story, though, goes back many years ago, of course, to the fact of when he was a young man wanting to enter into the seminary and the difficulty that he had for the first 5 years. After 5 years of seminary, he was asked to leave, and with that, though, he certainly had within his heart to want to continue on with religious life or with the priesthood. So he inquired with the Capuchins, and the Capuchins accepted him. And he run into the same difficulty as he had in the diocesan seminary, where he struggled with the languages and studies and so forth. But the superiors, when it came time for ordination, decided they would go ahead and they would ordain him a priest. And he ended up being a very famous priest in and around with the Capuchins. First of all, he was stationed out in New York, actually in Yonkers, New York, and then 6 years down in Manhattan at 2 different parishes. And his popularity was quite well established there. And the superiors back in Detroit wanted to kind of see if he would carry back to another area, if he would still continue to be as popular. And so they brought him to Detroit. And sure enough, his popularity was there. Just for instance, he had been only 6 weeks there at the monastery, and our house chronicler reported that there was several hundred people a day coming to visit him. Word of mouth got around as to the holiness of this man, and so with that, he became very well known, especially in Detroit. And it was there that he became known for his healing of people and the thousands of people that would come to him on a yearly basis. He's also very well known to the fact of establishing the Capuchin Soup Kitchen. During the Depression of 1929, there were people beginning to come to the monastery office, which he was the receptionist at, and asking for food. And the numbers became so great that they decided that they might just as well open up a soup kitchen, a building that was adjacent to the monastery, and they would have a daily lunch for the many hundreds of people that were coming. And so with that, he became very well known. There were many a times when they were running out of food and they didn't have enough to feed the hundreds of people that were standing outdoors waiting. And he would say a little prayer, and sure enough, some store person or someone would come by with enough food to feed the hundreds of people that were yet to be fed for that day. And so we always kind of felt that it was certainly through his prayers and his miraculous powers that he had, that his union with God in a very deep way, that he was able to do this. And the soup kitchen then developed, and it continues to go on through today. We have 2 locations, and we're serving somewhere around 2,200 people a day at both of these locations. And so it's really kind of referred to as Father Solanus' Soup Kitchen. Granted, there were many others that have helped along the way, and friars and lay people who have been very instrumental in developing it, but it has always been kind of given credit to Father Solanus as being his soup kitchen. There are many other things that people are attracted to as well. His holiness, to the fact that he was a man who seemed to be able to have things happen that were unexpected. We might call them miracles. And there were many people who would come to him with various problems in their lives, and he would promise them that he would pray for them, or he might simply say to them, "Why don't you have a mass said for this situation?" or whatever it might be. And much to the surprise of the individuals who were asking for these prayers, found that their prayers were being heard. And so they really attribute it to the wonderful faith and trust of Father Solanus and his confidence in God and how he himself was such a holy man. And he died in 1957, and at the time of his funeral there were some 20,000 people that attended. And since that time there have been hundreds of people on a daily basis that come to his tomb asking for prayers, for intercession. And the church has been pondering, looking at several of the cases that have been reported to us as being healings, to whereby they might consider them being miraculous. And if they are, then it would move his cause on from being referred to as Venerable Solanus Casey to Blessed Solanus Casey. And from that point on, then, they would look for an additional miraculous healing that would then give him the title of saint. So that is basically what the Father Solanus Guild is working for, and we are hoping that this will take place in somewhat the near future. And so we are very grateful to the life of Father Solanus and his spirit and how he has helped out so many people and has been so inspirational to the Capuchins themselves. Just on a private, personal note, I would like to mention that I had the opportunity of meeting Father Solanus back in 1956. It was some 6 months before Father Solanus died, and it was to the fact that we went to the monastery to ask prayers for my brother, who was in a serious auto accident, and there was a possibility of him losing his leg. And so with that great concern, my mother said, let's go and see Father Solanus. So we went down to the monastery on a Sunday afternoon and got permission to visit with him. And we told him what the situation, and he just simply said, oh, don't worry, things are going to be all right. And sure enough, as time went on, my brother's leg did heal, and he's walking around on it today with no problem. And it was really an amazing event. And one of the things kind of interest as well to myself is to the fact that during that visit, he said that he played a fiddle at barn dances. And he said he just restrung a violin that morning. And he said, I would like to play the fiddle for you. And so he went off to his room and got the fiddle and came back and played several tunes for us. We thought it was great. When I entered the Capuchin order, though, and I told the friars about me having the opportunity of hearing Father Solanus play the violin, and they kind of all said, yes, and so did we. He didn't play the greatest. So it was really just a really delightful thing, though, that I had that opportunity to hear him play, and it's been very special. And I honestly feel that my vocation perhaps has come through his intercession as well. Little did I know of it, though, at the time, but as I look back into my own history and so forth and seeing what has taken place, I can see that Father Solanus Casey had touched my life as well.